What's going on, world? It's your man Chuck Creekmur, aka Jigsaw, here at One World Studios, here with my man, my homie, MARKUANN Smith, the initiator of Godfather of Harlem, an actor, producer, director, all the things. Maybe not a director. You're not a director yet.
I'm shadowing a lot of directors.
Shadowing a lot of directors.
I definitely am.
So you work
taking advantage of that. Seriously.
Yeah. First of all, man, how are you doing, man?
I'm good, man. It feels good to be back on the couch for a season.
Yeah.
Every year, I get a chance to sit down with my comrade and have a great conversation.
Definitely, man. Season 4, Godfather of Harlem.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to go back and just rehash old stuff, but it was all a dream, and now it's season 4. That's like hard to even believe. But how are you processing that?
Well, it's still surreal. I mean, us coming out in 2019, we got greenlit in 2017, late 2017, and to be where I'm at right now, there's not a lot of TV shows that can actually make it to a season 4. More likely even get greenlit, pilot turned into a first season, or even getting bought in a room. So, by the grace of God, I'm here, and I'm very humble, and I'm appreciative that we have an audience that's really receptive to us.
What's the magic, if you can tell us, that keeps people coming back, that keeps the show going?
I think the dynamic of the storyline, the narrative is for everybody. It's not just for one demographic. I mean, your aunties, your uncles, your grandparents, it's for the youth. It's contemporary. I mean, we have amazing artists like Benny the Butcher, Conway, AP Ferg, as well as listening to, music such as Martha and the Vandellas, or Gladys Knight, or whatever, it's in the catalog that we're going to use. Swizz is doing an amazing job. We're just able to bring a family together. It's just like watching the Cosby Show from back in the days. Everybody ran to that living room to watch the Cosby Show, and we wanted that to be Godfather of Harlem, where everybody can enjoy it.
Yeah. So can you tell us where the characters are this season? For those, some people, sometimes when you take a break, or we're inundated with content now. They call it content, which is a whole nother thing. But we're bombarded, so sometimes we forget where we left off.
Well, season 4 is the rise of a group called the Black Panthers. So you will see it predominantly through the season. The Black Panthers, Malcolm X met his demise at the end of season 3. And this is the Black and Beautiful, the Black and I'm Proud movement. You'll see characters such as James Baldwin, Afeni Shakur. I mean, the characters are very rich. And then you're introduced to a young gangster by the name of Frank Lucas.
Yeah. Now, is he opposing Bumpy? Is that how this is going to go down?
Well, the writers took a lot of creative liberty because in reality, Frank and Bumpy weren't friends at all. But it also shows the dynamic of Frank coming up from North Carolina, while Bumpy came up from South Carolina. He was from Charleston, South Carolina. So Bumpy's actually seeing the same journey through his POV that Frank is going through in episode 2. A guy from the country that's green, that comes up to Harlem, sees these big lights, and wants it all. He wants to take the throne. So you'll see the tension between Bumpy and Frank, but as the season unfolds, you'll start to see, are they really cool, or is this a business arrangement, or are there any ulterior motives?
Yeah. Now your character, Junie Bird, that's like, I feel like he's my boy too.
Yeah.
Is Junie Bird in this season?
Oh yeah, absolutely. The writers have actually started building my character even more and more, because at the end of Bumpy's life, the only person that was around was Junie Bird when he was having that meal at Wells. He died of congestive heart failure, and that's crazy that he died. He did it his way, like Frank Sinatra was said, and he was in the middle of an indictment, with the feds, and he died actually in Junie's arms. Junie was a loyal soldier, younger than the other two, Chance and Nat Pettigrew, but he was also, he was Bumpy's heart. Bumpy wanted to see him grow with him, and the character that they're building for me is it's very interesting. You know, it goes through their moments. You know, season 2, you know, I was accused of stealing dope, which I
Mm-hmm.
didn't steal any dope. That was Nat Pettigrew because of his gambling problems. You
Right.
know, and you know, I'm just riding the wave, being a loyal soldier as possible.
Yeah, yeah. Now, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask you about your relationship with Forest Whitaker.
Yeah.
You know, he's a legend without peer. I mean, very few, I should say. And I've always admired him. I haven't seen him since the first Black Panther movie,
Mm,
if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, very, very kind gentleman.
yeah.
Um, how's that relationship evolved for you?
No, when I first met Forrest, man, he was amazing. He took me under his wing as his little brother. I mean, when we were pitching the show initially, you know, Forrest was in every pitch meeting. He tied up his boots and got his hands dirty with everybody else. And this is not including a big shout out to Nina Yang Bon Jovi, his producing partner, um, Tracy Underwood, who was over at ABC, an executive, Pat Moran, who was the president of ABC, Chris Brancato, RIP, Paul Eckstein, my business partner, Jim Atchison, even Professor James Smalls. It was a tribe that actually went out there to support this project. And Forrest is definitely a champion of mine. I remember when we first were about to start shooting, we were running lines together, you know,
Mm-hmm.
to see an individual who just came off an Academy Award for doing The Last King of Scotland, and his acting techniques, his method, it's amazing how he just transforms and morphs into these characters. You know, big shout out to John Carlo Esposito and Vincent
Mm-hmm.
D'Onofrio as well. But
Yes.
Forrest is, you know, he becomes a character. People sometimes just feel that Forrest automatically decided to become Bumpy Johnson, and it wasn't like that. Forrest agreed to produce it. You know, as an actor, as myself, you know, you just don't jump into characters until it jumps off the pages, and you understand that you can absorb and become these characters, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's where Chris Brancato came in with his amazing writing, and Paul Eckstein, and they penned a great script. You know, we went through like 17 scripts
Mm-hmm.
before Forrest actually agreed and said, you know what, this script is amazing. I could become this character.
Wow, that's when I hear that, it just sounds like a testimony of resilience and endurance, even
Yeah.
and not giving up on yourself and others believing as well. It takes a lot of belief. It seems for this to even come to life.
Yeah, I mean, I tell people all the time, it's just like we're in a society right now where everybody wants this microwave success. I mean, would you put a steak in a microwave and put salt and pepper and aluminum foil and press 2 minutes? Nah, man, you
Right.
don't do that, right? You want your steak to marinate overnight. You got the cold cooking. You got the
Mm-hmm.
grill at a certain level before
Mm-hmm.
you put the steak on. So
And you blow it up with
yeah,
with aluminum
absolutely.
foil.
Absolutely.
Um,
This is
yeah,
what I meant by that,
yeah.
because people, they want this instant success, and it annoys me at times when people say hook me up, and I'm like, hook
Yeah.
you up. Nobody hooked me up. Nobody gave me an opportunity. I had to go out there and get mines, and had to get people to believe in me. You know, I don't ask you to hook me up when I got to pay my SAG dues, and they're like, "Yo, Marquann Smith, we need $3,500 before you
Yeah.
could get on set."
Yeah.
So you know, we work in a world of influencers and algorithms and
Mm-hmm.
metrics. If you have 4 million followers, that means you're the man, and it's not true at all. So Forrest was just amazing, just keeping me grounded and letting me know just to be you, even on set. Like when we're in the sandbox playing, he's like, he gives me compliments. He's like, yo, you're doing good. If I do something wrong, he said maybe we should try it this way. And even as an actor, I was told by the likes of Michael Wright from the Five Heartbeats and John Carl Esposito, it's not about how many words that you have. You can steal a scene by just the emotion, your the looks that you bring into the scene. You could just steal a whole scene that way. And learning the different tricks of the trade, dealing with Whoopi Goldberg, and who's
Mm-hmm.
such an amazing person. It's been a ride.
Yeah, that's what's up. You have a strong. There's a strong connective tissue to hip hop
Yeah,
in the show, as well as the amazing soundtracks
yeah.
and the artists. Can you speak on that a little bit?
Yeah, man. I mean, I found myself getting back on the stage with my older brother recently.
What?
Yeah. We just did a show in Sacramento, California with In Vogue and Jodeci. My older brother's father MC, and it's been amazing. I mean, I started off in music. You know, music was what really inspired me to become creative. Um, Now he's doing a lot of it on shows right now. We're about to do May 14th. He's doing Club Quarantine in Baltimore. He's about to do Rock the Bells in Jersey. And you know, it's just being on that stage and just seeing how the crowd reacts. You know, while helping my brother, backing him up with songs that he's done, and he's had a bunch of hits. You know, he's been blessed to be able to have a career that you could talk about, because there's some artists that I know and you may know, they might have one hit and they can't get booked to do any shows. But when you come out and you have 5, 6, 7 singles and you have 2 gold albums or a platinum album, it's an amazing thing.
Yeah. Wow. Now, what are you doing on stage?
Oh man, I started off as a roadie, man, like back in the days. But now, you know, as a roadie, I grew into becoming a hype man. So I'm a hype man. You know, it's myself, friend of mine's Jay Black, and his original dancer by the name of Tone. We call him Tricky. You know, and as a roadie, when I was young, when I first got on the road, I was carrying 1200s
Right.
in the coffins.
Right.
So if you a DJ, you know 1200s go in the coffin. So I was the first one off the bus, last one on, and I met a lot
Coffin
of
is like this big,
yeah,
right?
huge. Like it's like this felt box.
Right.
So you know if it falls, your records don't skip or your needles don't get scratched. And on the road, I met, you know, another roadie that's, you know, R.I.P. Tupac Shakur, who was he was a roadie for Digital Underground,
Yeah.
and Tretch was a roadie for Latifah. So those memories, you know, you can't just you can't erase. You know, I was talking to a good friend of mine's, my uncle Bernard Alexander. You know, he was a dancer for EPMD. He also is one of the key people that helped me get this Godfather of Harlem project off as well too.
What? Okay. You just said a whole lot right there.
I did, right?
Now, I did know some of that, but let's talk a little bit more about Tupac, Tretch, and you as roadies. I did not know that Tretch was a roadie for Latifah. I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
he was. Tretch was a roadie for
I didn't
Latifah.
realize that.
Yeah.
How was life on the road with you guys?
I mean, you got to think about it, right? Craig Mack wasn't always Craig Mack. He was a roadie for EPMD. K Solo was doing some of those duties. We were all kids just trying to make it, man.
Yeah.
And being on the road and being able to travel, being on that tour bus, looking out the window and seeing the countryside pass you by, sitting on a tour bus and listening to the Delphonics, the Manhattans, the Stylistics, you know, Blue Magic, you know, just imagining like, damn, I don't even have to go back to Far Rockaway. I don't have to go back to Harlem. I could see different cultures. I could go to Chicago.
Yeah.
I'm in Detroit. I'm in Boston. You know, I'm in Nebraska. I'm in places that people never heard of. It being introduced to different sounds of hip hop. MC Breed, you know, Kid Sensation, DJ Quick, Second to None, AMG.
Yeah.
You know, it was just an amazing thing. It just gave your musical palette a much broader taste.
Do you keep in touch with Tretch these days?
No, I see Tretch. We chop it up, but you know, I definitely keep in contact with Money B and Cletus Mack and R.I.P. to Shock G. You know, Digital Underground is my second family.
Yeah, that's what's up. Shout out to them. They man, both of those gentlemen were in Digital Underground. Like people forget Pac started out there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he did. He started out there before he became this amazing Tupac Shakur solo artist and actor.
Yeah. The soundtrack's pretty dope. Do you have a favorite song? I'm gonna tell you mine before you think about that. My favorite song so far, because there's a lot of good songs on there, but I think my favorite song right now is Crown Don't Make You King by Conway the Machine, which is a short record. Really, it's only one verse.
Yeah,
but it's a message, and
it's a crazy message.
Yeah,
I like Danger with
Scarlett.
Yeah,
wait, I think that's
Danger's with Jada and Pusha T.
Okay, yeah. You know why I said RZA? Because it's from a record back in the day with RZA, Gravediggers. They kind of pull from that.
So Jada and Pusha T, and then we have Scarlett. We have We got my man Cross is on there from Harlem. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Swiss is one of these producers. He's like a mad scientist, right?
Mm-hmm.
He knows who's good at algebra. He knows who's
Mm-hmm.
good at history. He knows who's good at English, and he puts them all in different studios. When we up in Jungle City,
Mm-hmm.
and and we do our thing up there, man. And it's family. Shout out to Mo and Grady. It's just like a family, and Swiss is just there, just doing this whole mad scientist thing. Za 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 all
Yeah.
day.
Definitely, definitely. Now, do you feel you're getting into the rare waters with season 4? Is this we looking at another season? Like
Well,
what's
from your mouth to the film god's ears, and as far as we know, creative wise, we can go for quite a while because we're in 1966, and Bumpy actually passes away in 1968.
mm,
Our initial goal was to have 6 seasons, right?
okay.
When we first shot our first season, we were like, let's get the second season, third season. So we take our time. I know a lot of the fans and the audience are like, you take a hella long, but we were caught up in right between COVID and
Mm-hmm.
a SAG strike and a writer's strike. So
Mm-hmm.
it really wasn't the production team or the writers' fault. It was just because of that was the elements that were presented to us. So we couldn't do anything when SAG was striking. My union wouldn't let us do anything, and the Writers Guild, they were negotiating. So we got the production got caught up between those elements.
Yeah. So we basically gonna see season 5 and 6. That's what we basically
Well,
saying.
bringing in Frank Lucas was bringing in a skewing to a younger demographic
Mm-hmm.
where you can open it up even a little bit wider than what it
Okay.
is. And because after Frank Lucas came, the Nicky Barnes and the list go on, right? But
Mm-hmm.
Frank just brought a different dynamic because he was from North Carolina, and I
Mm-hmm.
remember doing a call with an individual by the name of Professor James Smalls, who has these wonderful programs called Hidden Colors, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he said that when African Americans migrated from the South coming up to Harlem, it was a lot of tribalism. So there were
Mm-hmm.
bars in Harlem, right? So I'm saying hypothetically, 135th Street, cats from Alabama be over there.
Mm-hmm.
128th Street, cats from North Carolina be over there, right?
Mm-hmm.
110th, cats from South Carolina might be over there.
Mm-hmm.
Cats might be in Florida on 115th.
Right.
The numbers aren't correct, but I'm just saying that
Mm-hmm.
just shows the tribalism. So if a cat from North Carolina walked into a South Carolina bar, they would know, this dude ain't from South Carolina from the way he presented himself, the way he dressed. They said cats from South Carolina were really low key. They wore
Mm-hmm.
dark colors, black, white shirt, black tie, kept a razor blade. While cats from North Carolina, Alabama, they wore loud colors.
Right.
So
Okay.
you can see that in Frank Lucas.
Yeah.
Even him wearing the chinchilla, right?
Mm-hmm.
To the
The
to
infamous.
the basketball game, right?
It
Or
was
to the fight,
boxing.
to the fight.
Boxing.
Excuse
Yeah.
me, to the fight, right?
Yeah.
It was just like he was more loud,
Yeah.
you know. And if you watched American Gangster, when Denzel said the loudest one in the room is what
Mm-hmm.
usually
The
the weakest.
weakest. Yeah.
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 So
Yeah.
and he was upset that his wife had purchased that chinchilla coat and he threw it in the fireplace. So we wanted to showcase the different elements of the tribalism that was happening back then as well.
That's dope. And I think it's also interesting to see the rise of the Black Panthers, the New York Black Panthers,
Yep.
because we've I don't believe we've ever seen that documented in scripted situation.
No,
Have we?
no, I don't think you have. You've seen it definitely in books. I remember Afeni mentioning how when she was pregnant with Tupac, she kept herself healthy with a boiled egg and a cup of milk when she was locked up in the tombs.
Mm,
So we're showing that how time has changed.
mm-hmm.
When people just had enough. People went from peacefully protesting like Martin Luther King,
Mm-hmm.
having these sit downs in the diners, to Malcolm X saying, "Nah, we not f***ing around. We ain't taking this." To
Yeah.
the Black Panthers were like, "Whatever, we gonna get handle our business too." So
Yeah.
we wanted to showcase and give the audience that type of that narrative.
That's awesome. So do you have any other projects you're working on, or
But
things
yeah,
that you want to make happen?
oh, absolutely, man. I just can't really speak about it, but I sold the show recently. Very excited about it. I can tell you it's going to be in the 80s, 85 to 90.
Okay.
I'm working on another project. It shows the relationship of a an athletic team, something
Mm-hmm.
like a Friday Night Lights.
Okay.
I've been talking to C Murder via Zoom, and he wants me to commit to do his documentary, and his documentary is really dope, man. I really like to make history cool. I
Mm.
like to show the juxtaposition of what's happening now and what's happening then.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at the Ferguson riots, that's the Harlem riots, right?
Yeah.
If you look at Muhammad Ali, that's Colin Kaepernick all over again.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, I just want to, like, when people watch my programs, I'm no different than Issa Rae. When she came
Mm-hmm.
out with the awkward black girl and then turned and became developed insecure, or
Mm-hmm.
even Lena Waithe.
Yeah.
I like to be on the creative side, being able to tell stories to make people laugh, make people cry.
Mm-hmm. How do you feel about the way, things have developed in Hollywood? We've, seen a lot of changes. Like, for example, last night I had a deep discussion about the new movie Sinners and Ryan Coogler as a director, and somebody said, well, Spike, is Spike Lee the GOAT now? Is he still the GOAT? And I'm like, I'm not gonna debate who's the GOAT or anything like that. That's extremely subjective, but a lot has changed since those days. The representation has changed. You just mentioned Issa Rae and Lena Waithe, obviously women. Um, and creatively, I feel like we've just seen expansion. We got horror, black people in horror movies now. Like, everything feels so different, but also liberating in a lot of ways.
No, I agree with you. But to compare Spike Lee and Ryan Coogler, I'm like, why does everybody have to compete? Or, I mean, it seems like in our community, it's
Yeah.
always these conversations, these barbershop conversations, who has
Hmm.
more money, and that's the person with only running around with a rush card in his pocket or a first premier card in his pocket,
Right.
talking about who got money. They always say the loudest boos come from the cheapest seats, meaning
Mm.
you're in the nosebleeds talking about LeBron James ain't shit, but the peanut man don't even want to walk up there to give you any peanuts or beer.
Right.
Look where you sitting at. So
Right.
when somebody says that, I'm like, there's room for everybody. You could
Yeah.
have your Ryan Cooglers there. You could have your Steve McQueens. You could have uh your Spike Lees.
Yeah.
Your Jenkins. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
there's different type of genres. I'm not trying to compete with 50 Cent at
Right.
all.
Right.
50 is doing his thing. I just want to do my thing and stay in my lane and
Hmm.
and create good content. And I think that's where we get lost in the sauce, because you don't see Coppola talking about Scorsese or Brian De Palma talking about Oliver Stone.
Yeah.
Everybody is focused and create your own content.
Yeah.
Ryan Coogler is doing an amazing job. I remember when Fruitville Station came out, Forest was part of that with Nina Yang, Bon Jovi, and their company.
Yeah.
Significant. So, big shout out to Ryan Coogler. I hope he murders the box office, and I hope
Hmm.
Spike Lee, his next project, murders the box office. I just want to see everybody win,
Yeah.
but it seems like amongst us it's just like this ill, crazy competition.
Yeah, it seems like it's always that way. But, and that's why Billboard will always do a rap list every so often,
Yeah.
so that we'll fight and argue about it and just
Yeah, that's,
get mad about
to
it.
me, that's like, where we at right now. Like, it's just crazy. Like, I watch a lot of YouTube sometimes, and it takes me down this alley. I had to just kind of like, I had to sober up and get out of there.
Yeah.
I'm looking at RICO charges and checking in, and I'm like, this.
Right.
Does Mick Jagger ask Axl Rose to check in? You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like, did the Temptation ask the Four Tops to check in? Like, I'm like, yo, this is really crazy. The
We got
community
some
we
work
live
to
in.
do.
We got some work to do,
Yeah,
man.
yeah, we definitely got. What's your dream? I know you're creating your dream, but is there something that you would just love to do that is almost like impossible to consider?
Well, nothing is impossible to me
Yeah.
because I never had a plan B. I always believed if you had a plan B, you was planning for your plan A to fail. I
Mm.
mean, what I'm doing right now, people thought would be impossible. You can't just walk into a studio and sell a TV series. It doesn't happen like that.
Yeah.
You're asking somebody to commit to $100 million or commit to $5 million per episode or $6 million per episode.
Hmm.
The only thing these creators think about is selling projects, and the only thing the executives think about is the ROI, what's their return on investment. So to answer your question, I mean, I think anything is possible when you put your mind to it.
Yeah.
I mean, I was watching this interview with Marlon Wayans, and it was really deep, and it touched my soul how he said we have more years behind us than we
Mm.
have in front of us, right? So
Uh-huh.
nothing is impossible. And I tell people all the time, I tell kids, even adults who have just given up on life and said, this is it for me,
Yeah.
why do that? Because you only get one opportunity in life. This is not a video game where you get three men. Oops, I got another man. Ooh, nah, you get one chance, one opportunity. Go for yours. People look at me and look at the glory before knowing my story.
Yeah.
And I'm famous for saying if you knock on opportunity's door and it doesn't open, go to Home Depot, get some lumber, build your own door,
Mm.
create your own lane, create your own pathway. So there's nothing impossible. It's just about having the passion, going about doing it. Who would think that you would have allhiphop.com, right?
Right.
And it lasts this long. But it didn't start off as allhiphop.com, right? It might have
Hmm.
started off in your bedroom.
Yeah.
You falling in love with the source and rap pages and word up and the Vibe magazines, and you like, hey, you know what? I can do this. I can set my own platform up.
That's a fact,
Yeah.
and that's exactly how it happened. In fact, my dream was to be the editor in chief of the Source, and
Yeah.
I had a sticker. I don't know how I got the Source magazine sticker, and I stuck it because I used to work at the local radio station.
Hmm.
I stuck the Source magazine over the radio station,
Oh yeah.
and I got that picture, and I got to pull that out sometime or
Yeah.
another, and
Yeah.
remind myself. Sometimes the hardest thing is starting, like
I mean,
actually.
look, you set a blueprint up that a lot of people are following. You have all these blogs right now, but you guys were blogs before the blogs. I mean,
Yeah.
look, you got the Shade Room, you got Ball Alert, big shout out to Robin. You got
Uh-huh.
a whole
Uh-huh.
bunch of different platforms out there, but all hip hop was a staple. I mean,
Yeah.
that was a community, that was the place to go for information,
Uh-huh.
and news, So you guys are trendsetters,
Hmm.
and led the path with your flashlight in a cave.
Thank you.
Yeah,
And by the way, it's funny, and I give you a lot of respect because quality in Godfather is amazing.
yeah,
And sometimes I feel like they're giving us mush, jail food or just
yeah,
stuff that's just seeing who will eat it and how many people will eat this, and keeping that cost low, ROI high, and you guys seem truly committed to quality, and I know for a fact all hip hop is truly committed to quality,
yep.
even though you might see the quality of content come down. You know what I mean? So I mean, I just applaud you for that.
Well, thank you, Chuck. But it's also, big shout out to the rest of the team. Jim Atchison and
Hmm.
Chris Brancato, especially Professor James Smalls,
Hmm.
Paul Eckstein when he was alive. They wanted to make sure the authenticity was there. And that's why I brought in Professor Smalls because, I wasn't born in the 60s. I'm a 77 baby. So
Hmm.
watching Professor Smalls, who was there, he happened to be Malcolm X's sister's bodyguard when Malcolm X met his demise. He would tell us and school us on set saying, they're doing this the wrong way, they're doing this the right way. We wanted to make sure we can be as authentic as possible, even to the set dresses. The telephone booth had to be a 1960s telephone booth. The
Hmm.
cigarettes had to be 1960s cigarettes. The
Hmm.
cars had to be, in contingent with the time. So
Yeah.
it's to make something believable and sell it to someone, it has to be believable.
Right. So let me run down a couple quick things. What's your favorite movie?
Once Upon a Time in America by Sergio Leone. Thought I was Noodles. Maximilian and Noodles. That's one of my favorite movies. You got to be patient to watch it. It's 3 hours. It could be a slow burn, but it just shows you so much about life and playing chess. I love that movie.
Okay. Favorite album?
Um, I think it's if I had to choose one, it would be Off the Wall.
Off the Wall.
Off the
Okay.
Wall, Michael
Okay.
Jackson. You know, I mean, it's so many great albums. I mean, I like Earth, Wind and Fire's
Mhm.
album. I like that. What's that? Isaac Hayes, Hot Butter, something
Mhm.
like that. Yeah,
Mhm.
but I definitely like Off the Wall. Off the Wall gave you an emotional roller coaster. You know, it had a blend of up tempos down to the ballads. It was just amazing.
Yeah. Favorite rap album.
Favorite rap album, man. I'll keep it real with you. Like favorite rap album, I think I was really into like when Mobb Deep came out. Yeah,
That's a good one. That's a
that
good
was
one.
like that was
Infamous.
the infamous. That was
Yeah.
crazy because that was my time. That was my era. That's what I saw in front of me. You know.
Yeah.
Um, I also liked Me Against the World. That was one of my favorite rap albums too.
Okay.
Tupac's Me Against the World. That was before All Eyes on Me. This is when he was, everybody said Tupac hated New York. He didn't hate New York. If you listen to the old school, when he was dedicating every bar to old school rappers and to break dancing and taking the train, that was a dope album as well too.
Okay. Do you have a favorite show series?
Godfather of Harlem.
I know you were gonna say that.
But other than that, one of my shows that I did like was Top Boy. That was a
Ooh.
great,
Yeah.
and I liked how raw it was. It was guerrilla, organic, and it became. I was just mad, man. If I don't even want to give any surprises because people didn't see Top Boy, but I didn't catch Summer House yet. But the and big shout out to Buck. Buck is one of the directed, I think, the last season. I spoke to him. That's my across the pond homie. You know what I'm saying, brethren. But yeah, Top Boy.
I'm gonna have to go with The Wire, but it's the same. It's a similar
Yeah,
type show.
Yeah.
Similar type show. Definitely. Well, Markuann, man, I want to say thank you for coming through, man. Appreciate you as always, man. You're a friend of the site and the platform. You know we go way back. I ain't even gonna get into it.
we go
But
back like car seats, right?
Right, yeah.
Absolutely.
Nah, though, I respect you. And also you didn't you flexed a little bit, but no furs this time. I guess it's too
You know
late.
why? Because it's like 75
Yeah.
degrees outside. I'm kind of hot with this Jodeci jumpsuit on, but
That's
it's
your
all
on
good.
stage. That's your on stage attire.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, no, that's what's up. So thanks for going easy on us.
Yeah,
today.
I had to go. I had to go easy, man. Peter was looking for me last time.
Oh
you know?
yeah. I said I'm gonna wear all black. You know what? I'm not even gonna do this with him.
Yeah, we militant today, right? All black.
Yeah, salute. Thank you, man.
Thank you,
Appreciate
brother, for having me, man.
Yeah.